So in the last session, we have covered the introduction part of articles actually, where a and the is used, how we have to figure out when we are, what kind of noun we are qualifying. And usually, as I said, article's main objective is to qualify the noun, just like the adjective. How adjective qualifies the noun, article also gives some specific information about the noun. Is it a definite thing we are talking about or indefinite thing? I'll just give a small recap. Like in case if we are qualifying any indefinite noun, so we'll use a or an, and the usage of a or an depends upon the vowel sound or the consonant sound. In case if the noun has vowel sound properties, then we'll use an. In case if the noun has consonant properties, we use a. Or in case we are talking about a definite article, then we use the as this. So I'll continue from there. So acronyms. So till now we have discussed like in case if there is a noun or in case if there is an adjective before the noun, how to use a, an, or the. Do articles are these articles applicable for the acronyms also? The answer is yes. Here if you see in the first example, introductory composition at Purdue. So it means ICAP. So basically they are talking about it's a group, and the starting letter or the starting word which introductory, it starts with an vowel sound. So whenever we talk about it, then we use an. Even though some case there may be cases like, for example, CCMB. CCMB is an organization and it is an acronym. So C has a consonant property, so that is why we don't use a. But in case if there is a vowel sound in the acronym also, we use an. So if you see here in this case, an MSDS, which is MSDS is Material Safety and Data Sheet. It's a full form of this thing. So we have used an for this acronym also. So not necessarily for any noun, even for an acronym also we have to use article. In case if it has a vowel sound, we use an. In case if it has a consonant sound, we use a. So that's the thing how we have to deal with articles in case of acronyms. So as I said, usually the noun is modified by an adjective, just like that. Article also modifies the noun, and depending upon the initial sound, we use a or an. Here if you see a broken neck, B does not have a vowel sound, we use an. An unusual problem, and it gives a vowel sound, so we use an. A European country, even though European has E, which is a vowel, but it does not have a vowel sound. Even though it is European, we are not saying European, we are saying European. So the sound is starting with Y, which has a consonant properties. So that is the reason why we have used A. So we'll get into definite article there. So now I'll talk about specific situations where how to deal with definite article there. There are certain rules which we have to follow in case we have to use the here. So basically, if there is any definite article, if you're talking specifically about certain thing, or maybe the context has already been set in any argument, so we are referring to that particular thing, then we have to use the. Here if you see, the dog that bit me ran away. Here we are talking about a specific dog, not any, there are so many dogs, but I'm talking about a dog which has specifically bit me. So there is some definite article here. You're definitely talking about a noun which did some action. So that is the reason, because we are referring to that specific thing, we use the. In this way, we are actually qualifying this particular noun, dog. So in case if I am just talking about any dog, usually dog, if we are not specifically talking about a dog, we might use a. But here in this case, we are talking specifically about one particular dog. So we use the. And if you see, I was happy to see the policeman who saved my cat. It can be any policeman, but I am specifically talking about one policeman who saved my cat. I might not know the name of the person, I might not know anything about the person, but I am referring to the person who has saved out of so many people. So there is a group, I am specifically referring to one particular person in that. So it is definitely a definite article. That's what we have to use. So that is the reason we have put the here in this case. So in case, suppose we'll see when we'll get a policeman. If you see, I was happy. Here in this case, we are saying specifically to a policeman. In case if we are in a trouble, or if we want to call the policeman, then we might say somebody call a policeman, or somebody call the policeman. So here I'm not specifically bothered about a policeman who has this thing, that thing. Any policeman who can save me. So that there we cannot use the, but here if we are referring to a specific person, that is the reason why we have used the here. And we'll see how we have to deal with count and non-count nouns, because we are dealing with nouns when we are using articles. So what happens is, whenever we have a non-counts or uncountable nouns, things like water, love, or maybe happiness, or some certain qualities and certain things which we cannot measure, they are called as uncountable nouns. So in case of uncountable nouns, we might use the, or we cannot use the. Both can be happen. How exactly it is possible, we'll see here. If you see here, I love to sail over the water. Actually, I could say I love to sail over the water. Not necessarily the water. I can simply say I love to sail over water. But if I'm using the, which means I'm talking specifically about one body of water, which means the people who are involved there, they are referring to one particular specific body, which the context in the argument has already been set in. So that's what the means. In case if you are generally referring to the water, I love to sail over water. If you're just talking to someone and expressing your interest on sailing water, you can just simply say I love to sail over water. No need of the, because it is an uncountable noun. Water is an uncountable noun. But in case if you are using the, which means there is some specificity involved in it. So you are specifically referred to one particular kind of water body which you are interested in sailing over. So if you see here in the next example, he spilled the milk all over the floor. So you could simply say he spilled milk all over the floor. There is no need of the. You could simply say he spilled milk all over the floor. But if we are referring to any specific thing, maybe the same, just like if the argument is already talking about one specific thing which has happened, one specific situation which has happened, and you are specifically referring to that particular milk. Maybe you would have bought that milk just a day before, or maybe that milk is very rare kind of milk and you're specifically referring to that particular milk, then usage of the will be appropriate. In case if you are not specific about the milk which has been bought today or tomorrow, you're just referring to, you just spilled the milk over the water, then there is no need of the. So in case of uncountable nouns, the can be eliminated most of the times, unless until if you are referring to one specific quality of the noun. So that's the thing. In case of countable nouns, a can come, an can come, and the can also come. But in case of uncountable nouns, only the that comes. A and n cannot come with the non-count nouns, unless until if you are referring to some countable things. So if you see here, I need a bottle of water. Bottle is measured. Water cannot be measured. So in case if you are referring to if you are referring to water, then you might use the, or you cannot use the. But here if you are using a specific countable noun, I need a bottle of water. You can say the also, but how? I need the bottle of water which you have bought now. So now out of all the bottles which you have bought, I'm specifically referring to that thing. So then the might be appropriate. But here in this case, A is sufficient. I need a new glass of milk. Glass is measured, milk cannot be measured. So glass here becomes a countable noun. So the moment we have the glass, we are using A. So that's the case with countable nouns. So countable nouns or singular nouns usually different thing. We use A and the three can come. But in case of uncountable nouns, the can come, and in case of plural nouns also only the comes, not A or N. We'll see some more examples of it in the coming slides. So I'll move to the next slide. So most of now we'll talk about geographical use of the. So most of the times in written communication or when we are talking about anything, we use the while we are referring to countries or territories or something. But actually, there are certain rules which actually English follows in case if we are using different article. So most of the times, usually, names of the countries or the territories actually cannot precede the names of the countries or the territories, because if you see Italy, Mexico, Bolivia, or India, China, or Pakistan, Sri Lanka, that does not give any plural sense. Even though the countries are formed by amalgamating all the states, but the name, it is not giving any plural sense. If you see here Italy, so we cannot say the Italy, the Mexico, or the India or something like that. But there are certain countries which gives a plural sense. Like for example, the Netherlands, which says an amalgamation of things, amalgamation of states like that. The Dominican Republic or the United States of America, the United Kingdom, the Philippines, the United Arab Emirates. So when the names give a plural sense, we use the. As I said, for the plural nouns, only the comes, not a or an. So if the name is not giving any plural sense, we cannot use the here. So also for names of cities, towns, or states. So like Hyderabad, we cannot say the Hyderabad or the Lucknow or maybe the Patna, something like that. So for states, towns, these things also we cannot use the, unless until the name gives us a plural sense, and if you are talking specifically about that particular state, usually in any conversation. So names of streets also does not need the. So and in case of names of lakes and bays also, we don't use the. So when it comes to lakes, there is a specific rule in for articles actually. So names of oceans and names of rivers actually precedes the before them. But in case of names of lakes and bays, they are not they do not follow the. So here if you see Lake Titicaca, Lake Erie, so these lakes they do not have the. But in case of the Great Lakes, even though it is a lake, but the name gives a plural sense, the Great Lakes. So whenever we get a plural sense, then we might use the. But in case of any normal name, any normal lake or base, usually they don't, as per the English rule, they don't require any the. And because lakes are usually surrounded by particular land, and they are only usually one lake that will be there. But in case of ocean or in case of rivers, they are actually amalgamation of different things. So the name generally itself gives a plural sense for the rivers and for the oceans. And when it comes to mountains, Mount Everest or Mount Fuji, something like that, we don't require the Mount Everest. So whenever we talk about Mount Everest, we don't use the Mount Everest or the Mount Fuji, unless until we are specifically talking about, if we are definite about one particular mountain which we are talking about. In general, if we are talking about Mount Everest or Mount Fuji, you don't really need the, unless until if the name gives a plural sense. So I mean plural sense means like the Andes, the Rockies, or the Alps. So these names gives plural sense. So in that case, it becomes appropriate to use the. So in case if there is no plural sense, then we have to just use the name itself. That's it. No need of the. And names of the continents are also not. They don't precede the also. Even though Asia, Europe, these continents are formed by mixing all the countries, etc. But still the name, the noun which we're talking about, they don't give any plural sense. So as per English, we don't have to use the for Asia, Europe, North America, South America, Australia, Africa continents. And names of the islands also, we don't use the, unless until if they give any plural sense. So if you see here, the Aleutians, the Hebrides, or the Canary Islands, so these things they give a plural sense. This is different types of islands, even though they are not different types of islands. The name gives a plural sense, so we use the. So whenever we have a plural sense, or when the name or the noun gives a plural sense, we use the, or else we don't use the. So these are the rules which we have to remember on how not to use the. So we'll see when to use the when it comes to geographical usage. So when to use the.
So Surya, too many rules, Surya.
One strong rule which you have to remember, just plural sense or the singular sense. Okay. So even though they are making it even more complex by adding rules, but all of them actually says the same thing. Whenever we have plural sense, we use the noun.
No matter Renan Martin is like that thick, huh? Renan Martin book.
Yes. So names of rivers, names of oceans, names of seas. So the Nile, the Pacific, or the Ganga, or the Godavari. Usually what happens is, in case of rivers or oceans, they're actually amalgamation of different types of lakes or different types of water bodies that forms the river, and the different types of rivers they give the oceans. So in case if you say Bay Area, what is Bay? Bay means an inlet to the ocean. So it is not a plural form, or it is not any giving any plural sense. it is just a bay. But the ocean, the name ocean itself is an amalgamation of different it forms by adding different rivers and different water bodies. So rivers, oceans and seas, actually when we talk about them, we have to use the, even though they are not giving any plural sense, we have to use the Nile, the Pacific, the Godavari, the Ganga, or the Arabian Sea, the Indian Ocean, the Pacific Ocean, like that. And specific points on the globe. So the name itself very specific. So when we talk about specific, any definite articles, we use the, if you're talking about definite nouns, so the equator, the North Pole. So such things, any specific points on the globe, those things are also, they precede the. And in case of geographical areas, not the countries, not the continents, not the states, not the cities. If you're talking about a particular region, usually it is a part, different parts or different countries that together form as a region. For example, the Middle East, Saudi Arabia or Dubai or some other region areas together form as geographical area. They call it by a region. So that becomes the Middle East or the West or the East or the Northwest. So those things can be capitalized, but any name like the India or any country or any cities or any names, they cannot be capitalized in specifically when you're talking about an area. So even the deserts, forests, gulfs and peninsulas, the Sahara or the Thar Desert or the Amazon. So deserts, forests, gulfs and peninsulas are also, they precede the specifically when it comes to geographical usage. So these things actually can be easily memorized when we go to certain examples when these things. So usually Purdue University and some other online resources has some practice sessions for these things. So we'll get to know once we practice a little, once we understand the context, the real concepts which we see there. So far we have discussed about when to use article A and the. So is there any chances or is there any possibility of not using articles when we are talking about a noun? So actually that is yes. So there are certain situations where we don't need articles. We have to omit the articles. They does not require in this case. So we'll see what are those examples. So usually names of languages or the nationalities, like the Hindi, maybe Hindi or Tamil or Telugu or Persian or Germany. Usually names of languages, names of nationalities like India, they don't require articles. We cannot say a Chinese, an Chinese or the Chinese, the English, unless until we are talking specifically about that thing. As I said, already the context of that place or that language or that nationality has to be brought in. Then we are specifically referring to them. Then article might be, articles usage will be appropriate. But in general, if you are talking about any language or nationality, they don't require article at all. So if you see, sometimes we can say the Spanish are known for their warm hospitality, or the Chinese or Japanese are known for their hardworking ability. So here, even though the name Chinese gives a language name or English gives a language name, but I'm talking specifically about the population, not necessarily the language. So the Spanish are known for their warm hospitality. I don't mean the language, I mean the people who speak Spanish. So there are so many different people who talk different languages. So these people who are Spanish, I'm referring to the population actually. So in that case, that would be appropriate. In general, if the language or the nationalities, if you're talking about, then you don't require the or any article at all. So that's the case with omitting articles in languages and nationalities. Even for the names of the sports, volleyball, hockey, or baseball, you can simply say I'm going to play volleyball. You cannot say I'm going to play a volleyball, I'm going to play the volleyball or this thing, unless until if you're referring to if you're arguing on specific noun. So in generic, you don't have to say a volleyball or the volleyball. You can simply say volleyball, hockey, baseball. Same goes with the languages and nationalities. And same goes with the academic subjects also. So I'm practicing mathematics or I'm reading biology, history. You don't have to say I'm reading the mathematics, the biology or the history. They don't require article at all. You cannot say a mathematics or a biology also. So usually these things, they do not require any article at all. you can simply take the names. This is because
all when we are referring to mathematics, the subject, right?
yes, Chaitanya. Yes.
So let's say if there is something called a math problem, right?
Right.
Then in that case, the noun is really the problem and math is the adjective, right?
Correct. Yes.
So A is really, sort of is an
The
article for the
right.
problem, right? Not the.
No, Chaitanya. A is an article for the math. Even though the noun is problem, the adjective is maths. So whenever if we are referring to noun, we'll take the vowel sound of the noun or non-vowel sound. If there is an adjective before the noun, we have to take the adjective's vowel sound or consonant sound.
Okay, got it. Okay, understood. I got that. So basically, but we are using it. So in this particular case, it is you're talking about mathematics, right?
Subject,
Which
yes.
is a subject, right? But there it is really an adjective. You're not referring to.
Right.
We use the sound of the adjective,
Right.
but the article is really for the noun.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
So we're talking about the noun only, and the mathematics is actually qualifying the noun. It is giving some specific information about the noun. So we'll take the adjective sound, but we are actually focused on the noun only. The articles usage. So that is the thing. So these are actually the concepts. Now we'll practice. We'll see certain examples, and we'll see how an article would be appropriate. We'll practice with certain things and we'll get to know them. So the first example here.
This is my favorite part.
Yeah. So the first example is, are you coming to dash party next Saturday? So what do you think the proper appropriate article would be? Okay. So we'll do one. Yes, I.
The right.
Okay. So I will not reveal the answer. So we'll solve all those things, because once if one answer is given, then the second, third, fourth will be easily cracked. So I'll not give the answers. We'll solve all the 10 and we'll again see them with the answers. So the first one you said is the, okay.
No, so there is a possibility that you could also use A there. It depends on what you're trying to say. So for example, if they have already figured out that, okay, a friend had called for a party, right? Then, so then if you're referring to that party, then you can say, are you coming to the party next Saturday? Right? So we are referring to a specific party, right? But let's remove party and put that as a movie, for example. Then you could say, hey, are you, it's saying, are you coming or will you come to a movie next Saturday, which is a different context.
Right.
But if there are like multiple parties and if you're not sort of clear which one it is, then, then A can also come. But if you're referring to a specific party, then it is the.
Right. So just to add to Chaitanya, so maybe a party might come if we say, suppose if I'm asking to my friend, hey, do you wish to come to a party or something like that? Because there might be so many parties or so many different functions. I'm not sure about which one to go. I'm just asking if the person is willing to come. That's it. So in that case, A could come. Here in this case, we'll see this thing. And the second example is, I bought dash new TV set yesterday.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. A. Okay. We'll see the third one. I think dash man over there is very ill. He can't stand on his feet.
The.
Okay. Okay. So the fourth one is, I watched the video you had sent me. Okay. So
the answer is the.
I might be wrong also in certain situations.
You got involved.
Okay. So we'll see the fifth one. She was wearing dash ugly dress when she met him. Okay. A.
No, it is an ugly dress.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Okay. So I'm crazy about reading dash history books.
I don't think you need any article over that.
Okay.
Reading history books.
So multiple views for this thing. Let's see. She is dash nice girl.
A nice.
Nice girl. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Do you want to go to dash restaurant where we first met?
The
Okay.
Go to the restaurant.
He is dash
And-
engineer.
And
Okay.
Oh,
He
this is
thinks-
something all of us will, most of us. There are too many engineers. So,
So the final one is he thinks that dash love is what will save us all.
I think here also you don't need
nothing.
No.
I think that yeah.
Nothing else required.
love.
Okay.
Love is uncountable. Yeah.
So all of you are right on on most of the example except the two. So I am a crazy fan about reading. Actually, we don't require any article here at all. As I said, the subject usually we don't require, and there is a plural form also. So when we have plural form, there might be chance of coming the or no article at all. In case if we are not referring to any specific. So here if history books. So here there is no need of or the usage of article is not really adding any value to this particular sentence. So that is not required. So in the final example also, he thinks that love is what will save us all. So love, sadness, happiness or something, they are uncountable nouns, they cannot be measured. So when we have such things, we might need the or we might need no article at all. If we are using the, it has to talk about some specific thing. As I said, the context has already should be set in. So they are just generally talking about love. He thinks that love is what will save us all. So it is just a generic basic example, not a specific. So rest all of you are correct. So I will start with the beginning. Are you coming to the party next Saturday? So that is the answer. I bought a new TV set. I'm not specifically talking about set. There might be so many new TV sets. I'm just referring to I bought a new TV set. I'm not specifically saying I bought the Onida TV set or maybe some Philips or something like that. And if you see, I think the man over there is very ill. So there are so many people. You're specifically talking about one person who looks ill. So that's what you're referring. So it becomes the. I watched the video you had sent me. There might be so many videos. I'm talking about that person who has sent me the videos. I'm specifically referring to that video. So that is the answer. She was wearing an ugly dress. So ugly, usually this adjective, and it gives a vowel sound. That's why we use am. I'm crazy about reading history books. No need of articles. She is a nice girl. So that's the adjective is giving consonant sound. So do you want to go to the restaurant where we first met? I can go to any restaurant, but I'm specifically talking about the restaurant where we first met. So that is the thing here. So he is an engineer. So engineer, the noun is giving a vowel sound here. He thinks that love is what will save us all. So it is an uncountable noun, love. And they're not specifically talking about any quality. So it's just a generic statement. So no need of the. So that is the thing with these examples. And there are three more examples or three more things which we'll see. We'll practice these things also. So the first example is our flight to the China was cancelled. Is it fine or do we need any changes to this sentence? Sorry, I did. What should we do?
We'll remove
The needs to
Okay.
be removed.
Right. Okay. In the second example, have you ever been to the Netherlands?
Yeah, this is correct.
Okay. So third example is my sister lives in United States. Is it okay?
in the
Yeah.
United States.
Right. Correct. So in the first example, we don't need the because it is a country. Usually countries don't precede the unless until if they are referring. Sorry. Sorry, Savan? Yeah. So usually countries don't precede the unless until you are talking specifically about that thing. Have you ever been to the Netherlands? Even though Netherlands is a country name, but the name gives a plural sense. So it means amalgamation of different place or something like that. And my sister lives in the United States. So just like Netherlands, United States also gives a plural sense. So we use the here. So the has to be added. So this is all about today's session.